I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
We are Velocities in Music. On this podcast, Tom and I discussed a vault of topics pertaining to modern music, including artist deep dives and monthly and annual new music wrap-ups. 2016 has finally come to an end. In our last podcast, Tom and I discussed our top 20 albums from 2016. Today, we'll be discussing our favorite tracks from 2016 through the context of VIM's 30 top tracks of 2016 list. Before we get started, you can help support Velocities in Music. Subscribe to Velocities in Music on your favorite podcasting device to automatically get our latest podcast episodes sent to your device for your listening pleasure. Also, Velocities in Music doesn't want your money. We also don't want to introduce any ads into the podcast yet. Right now, all we want is for you to share Velocities in Music with family or friends whom you think would benefit from joining in on the music discussion Tom and I are trying to create. Tom.
Yeah.
In our top albums of 2016 podcast, we ended by pontificating that this year was a year of the song.
I agree.
And not the album.
I still agree with that thing that I said a little bit ago.
You did say that, and we both agreed with it.
Yes.
I was there with you, buddy.
Yep.
And I really feel strongly that a number of albums that I really liked, I liked because of the strength of a certain few tracks.
Absolutely.
On those albums, and that's reflected, I think, in our favorite songs list.
Yeah. I struggled to put my list together because I feel like my top 20 or 30 songs from my individual list, I loved as much as maybe only in my top 5 or 10 from other years. I mean, this was a dense year for songs. People just churned out a lot of what I felt were maybe kind of mediocre to good albums, not great albums, but had like just a couple tracks that just were killer.
Yeah, to put this in perspective, Tom, you actually listened to and ranked 182 different songs.
I did. That is true.
182 different songs.
Took a while. It was fun, though.
Now, you pointed out in the albums podcast that we listened to, I think collectively, we went through over 440 or so albums over the course of 2016, all released in 2016. Obviously, each of those have approximately 10 to 12 tracks on them. And from those, we have to make this humongous list of all the songs. And so what we decided to do at the beginning of the year, and I think we've been doing this for a few years now, and we'll continue to do this in the future, is Tom and I each keep an individual playlist in Spotify. We keep our all of our music listening is done pretty much in Spotify. Mm-hmm. And as we listen to albums and find that we're really liking a track, we throw them into this, favorite tracks playlist. And each of us are kind of building this playlist, this cumulative playlist throughout the year. And at the end of the year, we have to address the fact that we collected all these favorite songs, and there's hundreds of them, and we have to narrow it down to a list of probably about 70 or 80, which sounds like a lot. But when you actually consider it, like the way that Tom and I go about building the Velocities in Music list, which we think is something greater than the sum of its parts.
Yeah.
Is we have to take we have to take our lists, make sure that they are in a priority order, a personal priority order that we're comfortable with, and then use some spreadsheet magic to combine those lists into the Velocities in Music list.
And the song lists are always more difficult because, as you just mentioned, there are approximately 10 to 12 times as many songs each year as there are albums,
right?
Just mathematically speaking. So when we put together our albums list, Jake, there's always some albums that might be higher up on my list that aren't really on your list at all, and vice versa. But that is multiplied, that is exaggerated on our songs list, because even from albums that you and I both loved, it might not be the case that we have the same track picks.
A great example is Bon Iver's 22 a Million.
Oh, yeah.
You had a number of tracks picked from that record that I hadn't picked any of those, but I had my own set of tracks from that record that I liked.
I think from that record, we probably included most of the record on our songs list individually, but, not exactly the same picks. Right. So that's much more likely to happen with songs. So the center of that Venn diagram is a lot smaller, just because there's such a high quantity of tracks to choose from. So it's difficult to narrow down, but it's a lot of fun to do so.
Absolutely. And the result is our top tracks from 2016 playlist, which you'll be able to see that on Spotify. If you go out to Spotify, we have a public playlist out there called VIM's Top Tracks of 2016. You can go out there, look at that list, and listen to any of the songs that we talk about today. So, Tom, without further ado, let's jump into this.
Let's do it.
All right, to kick off our top 30 songs from 2016, we're going to start with Brother by D.D. Dumbo from the album Utopia Defeated.
You took me in, honey, now I'm melting out.
This album came out in October of this year, and immediately after hearing the song Brother, I fell in love with this track. It has kind of this, it's a very indie rock vibe. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Wild Beasts at times. But it has this guitar part in it that is just hypnotically beautiful, and just the steady driving beat that made this a perfect song for me to run to. And I actually had this in my running mix. So as Tom knows, any song that makes it into one of my running mix, I fall in love with it, because I generally like the song to start with, but then I've listened to it on repeat, so I fall in love with that track. Just a great song altogether.
I love how smooth D.D. Dumbo's voice is. I said it before and I'll say it again. It is a love child between Sting and Jeff Buckley. I can't decide which one it sounds more like, but I don't care. I just really like how smooth it is. Number 29 on our favorite tracks of 2016 list is Trophy Eyes with the song Counting Sheep from their album Chemical Miracle. This is an album that me and Jake liked pretty well, but more for me, there were 2 or 3 tracks that stuck out, and Counting Sheep was way up on my list. This is a terrific kind of emo, post-hardcore track with a lot of intensity and just one of the catchiest hooks that I've heard in a rock song in a long time. This song stuck with me. I kept wanting to come back to it.
Number 28 on our top songs of 2016 list is Doing the Right Thing by Daughter off their album Not to Disappear.
We are built for reproduction, but I find it soothing.
This is my favorite track from Daughter's album Not to Disappear. It starts off, it's kind of a slow building track, starts off with a pretty steady, slow beat. Steady to slow beat, where you have just this like key and then this drum beat, and then just slowly builds, and there's a bit of a drop chorus at the first part of the song, where it just goes down to very isolated female vocals that are just some really just haunting presentation and lyrical subject matter. But then the song builds and you get this nice washy guitar sound come in, and just the wall of sound that I've come to love Daughter for. It's just overall a very moody and brooding song that made a huge impact on me.
And number 27, we have Andrew Bird's Are You Serious?, the title track from his new album.
These are my true convictions. So tell me, are you serious? Are you serious? 'Cause every night of your life, you fight for it so.
This song was my favorite track from the new Andrew Bird
Definitely
album.
mine too.
And the reason I liked it a lot is because, while we haven't been huge on his last couple albums, you and I are big fans of some of his earlier albums like Mysterious Production of Eggs, Armchair Apocrypha. This track to me sounds like it could have come from that era. It's got a lot of the classic Andrew Bird elements.
2009's Noble Beast, even, I could really see this fitting in there. I completely agree, and this is a great example of just a killer track on a kind of underwhelming record, to be honest with you. I had some pretty high expectations, I always do with Andrew Bird, and was honestly didn't feel fulfilled by Are You Serious? But the song Are You Serious, the title track from the album, I think just blew me away. Coming in at number 26 on our top tracks of 2016 list, we have Dusty Trails by Lucius off the album Good Grief.
Dusty trails can lead you to a golden road. I've been told. Can't remember who it was or all she's.
This song, it's female-led chorus or female-led vocals, It's indie folk is how I would describe this. And I think the key thing about this track that makes it so great is just the beautiful harmonized vocal presentation.
The harmonies are like butter. They sound great, and they make the chorus so powerful. There's so much desperation in the performance.
Yeah, the chorus is really the highlight of this, obviously. But it makes such an impact. It's such a well-written vocal part that really accentuates some of the nice acoustic guitar that's going on, the driving the song, and then the string flourishes that they put in the background. It's just a really nice folk track.
At number 25, we have Moonface with the track City Wrecker from his album My Best Human Face.
Jenny Lee, you should know the city fell into a sort of boring ruin.
This is Spencer Krug. You might also know from several other projects, Sunset Rubdown, Wolf Parade. The new Moonface album I liked a lot, and this track was a huge standout for me just because you hear Spencer at probably his most somber. This track really packs an emotional punch, and it's got this nice subdued instrumentation with these really twinkly, kind of cheesy synths that come in, but for some reason for this track, it really worked. This was one that I could not get enough of. I kept coming back to it, even if it is a little bit of a depressing track. At number 24, we have the third track from Radiohead's new album. The track is called Dex Dark.
But it was just a laugh, just a laugh, just a laugh, just a laugh, even at this angle.
This song, its placement is really important in why I like it, I would say. Because coming after Burn the Witch and Daydreaming, this is where the album starts to get a little bit more upbeat. It's actually probably one of the more upbeat songs, maybe on this front half of the album. But at the same time, stylistically, I feel like it could have been one of the more low-key tracks from an album like Hail to the Thief or something. There's a lot of extra fun bits going on in the background with some kind of atmospheric synths and everything. But really, the whole song is driven by Tom York's vocal melody, which is really well written, really well performed, just a solid track overall.
A lot of austere melodies too, and they bring in the kind of like backing vocals. I don't know what they are, but it's almost like something Lost in the Trees would do with that really high pitch female vocals in the background that really just add a sense of ambiance to this track. It's more uplifting. It's almost like a little bit of up tempo Sail to the Moon at times, and I just think it just made such an impact. And I totally agree with you on the placement of where this thing is in the album. Radiohead's great at doing that, and they nailed it with this one. At 23 on our top tracks of 2016, we have Pork Soda by Glass Animals on their album How to Be a Human Being.
Let's climb the cliff edge and jump again. Pineapples are in my head. Got nobody 'cause I'm brain dead.
Man, there was a number of tracks on How to Be a Human Being that really stuck out. This was one of them. This is my personal favorite from this record. It's not the only track in our top 30 from this record. I know, Tom, you like this just a little less than I did, but still you really liked
it
record.
a lot. Yeah.
So Pork Soda, and really every track on How to Be a Human Being was about creating fun pop music with a bit of a driving beat to it. That's one thing I would describe this Pork Soda as really exemplifying, is that driving just bass beat that they establish from the moment that this song starts. Now, what I think Glass Animals do very effectively on Pork Soda is just the chorus is so catchy with the pineapples in my head part. Like that is just such a evocative line, and the way it's sung and performed is just addictive. And the other things that they're doing in the verses, the second verse having the strummed guitar adding a little bit of intensity, doing a little bit of a breakdown before busting into the second chorus. These are things that only really, really established, crafty bands know how to do right. And these guys just show that they're such great songwriters by how well they execute this style of music.
Another thing I really like about this song in particular is it's one of the songs on the album that best highlights Glass Animals' hip-hop influence.
Yes,
this has
absolutely.
a hip-hop vibe to it, a bounce to it that you could certainly envision someone rapping over, even though they're not. They're taking a different vocal approach. It's more pop, it's more layered, it's more these sung high melodies. But that's where the style blend kind of comes in, and I think what helps make Pork Soda such a unique track.
Number 22 on our top tracks of 2016 list, we have a song that is a single release, not on a record released in 2016, which we do from time to time as we listen to all the new music that's coming out during the year. We have I Am a Nightmare from one of Tom and my favorite bands, Brand New. Brand New is a indie rock / emo band. It sounds a lot like Sunny Day Real Estate when you think about it, Tom.
Yeah.
But the song, they released this song, I Am a Nightmare, off their supposedly forthcoming album that might release in 2017.
We will see.
I'm not sure if I believe the BS yet, because it's been since 2009 since they've put out an official album release with Daisy. Anyways, I Am a Nightmare came out. They released Mean in 2015, and that song was great, but I Am a Nightmare is a bit more back to their kind of pop punk roots.
It is, yeah. It's a poppier thing that they put out in a while. And Jake, I know you like this song a lot more than me. I think this is your like number 3 song of the year.
You're absolutely right. This is one of my favorite tracks. In my top 5 for sure.
And I do really like it. The big thing is you do hear a stylistic shift. I mean, this does not sound like something that would have fit on Daisy or on Devil and God Are Raging Inside Me. But at the same time, while the songwriting feels closer to their first couple albums, the production is still very current. Jesse Lacey is also still evolving his vocal approach. So it's an interesting direction. I hope that they actually do put out a full album.
And if they do, as long as they don't overdo this format, I think that this song will be one of the highlights from the record, just from the standpoint that it is such a powerful punch of just pop hook. If the chorus, Jesse Lacey is just repeating, I am a nightmare and you are the miracle. And it's just that repeated, but it's sung in such a way and it's so upbeat and fast paced that it just makes you want to jump around on just like a bubbly teenager. I mean, there's no other, the fact that it can make me, this glum, cynical, almost 30-year-old person want to do that, I give them props for.
Hey, Jake, you know what? I remember when you were a bouncy teenager bouncing around to Brand New. Yeah. So it all makes sense.
It does.
And number 21, we have David Bowie, Black Star.
On the day of execution, on the day of execution, only women kneel and smile.
Now, I understand that this song was actually technically released at like the very tail end of 2015, but its official album release was in 2016. That's when we got to it. I don't know if it was like an actual official single in 2015. Frankly, I don't really care. Screw it. We're talking about it now. It was a highlight of 2016 for us. I mean, this is a monster of a track. It's a long track. Starts with this very spooky kind of synth-driven thing, but also you have that saxophone coming in and out. You have the very sporadic beat. And then there's this whole middle section where it just changes. It gets a little more upbeat. It gets a little jazzier, a little funkier, almost kind of more of a station-to-station vibe. And then it drifts back into that beginning part. And I think it's so impressive the way he constructed this to have these segments flow in and out of each other that really don't make sense together, but he just makes them work. It's a very haunting track from an album that, of course, will be remembered as David Bowie's last. That's one of the noteworthy things about it. So I think it just makes this track in particular all the darker and all the more memorable for that reason.
Number 20 on our top tracks of 2016 is the opening track from Hardwired to Self-Destruct, Metallica's double album released in November of 2016. The track is called Hardwired.
In the name of desperation, in the name of wretched pain, in the name of all creation, count insane, we're so fucked. Shit.
This is what an opening track.
I know.
I mean,
it's great.
It just starts off with that just pounding drums,
chugging guitar,
and then it just builds in. I mean, this thing is just attacking your senses from the moment you press play. What a way to open.
And it's one of Metallica's shortest songs, but I think they cover so much ground and make such a strong statement. There's still multiple segments to this song, a good, identifiable, albeit short chorus, and a nice bridge in there too with a solo to boot. I mean, what more do you want out of a Metallica song in just over 3 minutes? I think they nail it.
And it also proves that they're capable of writing a really good song that's not over 5 minutes long.
Right.
Which I wasn't sure before they did this that they could actually do it. So kudos to them for proving me wrong.
Number 19, we have the lead single from Phantogram's newest album, 3. The song is called You Don't Get Me High Anymore.
I wonder how far down it is. Nothing is fun, not like before. You don't get me high anymore.
This was a terrific single from this album. I know why they picked it as a single, because it is an earworm.
It is.
Before hearing the album, which by the way, I don't know if I've mentioned this before. Jake, you know this about me. I tend to not like pre-release single tracks. I like hearing songs in the context of an album, and usually even songs that I will end up loving, I'm always underwhelmed by when I hear it in advance of the rest of the album. Not the case with this song. I heard it once, just once, and it was stuck in my head for days. It's got a terrific hook. It's a little bit dancier, but it's got this nice, thick, dirty synth lead part. And that to me is really what it's all about, is that nice, big melody in the synth, as well as the chorus hook, but then with the pre-chorus that actually drops it down, makes things sound a little bit more mystical, and has some nice, smooth harmonies from Sarah Barthel on the lead vocals. I just think that this is a terrific Phantogram track, a good direction for the band.
Coming in at number 18, we have Nobody Dies from Tao and the Get Down, Stay Down from the album A Man Alive.
Nobody dies. You act like nobody dies.
I will admit, I was not as in love with A Man Alive as a lot of the people that I know in my life who have listened to this record.
Mostly just me.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Like,
fair.
Tao and the Get Down, Stay Down are. This is a great group. They make really, really complicated, not overly complicated, but it's more complex indie rock, more complex than your average indie rock fare. And A Man Alive was an album full of really experimental tracks. But the problem that I have is that the tracks usually err on the side of just being instrumentally complex or structurally complex without providing a lot of meaning or warrant or like hooks to balance things out. So it just kind of seems like I really appreciate it when I'm listening to it, but I don't come back to it. I say I would put that Nobody Dies as the exception to the rule for me personally. This is a song I just couldn't get out of my head. We mentioned that our last track, You Don't Get Me High Anymore by Phantogram, was an earworm. Well, man, is Nobody Dies an earworm. From the moment that you put this song on, it kicks in with just what a wonderful songwriting device with the drum fill, and then that crunchy guitar starts and then
Very driving.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tao comes in with her just very iconic vocal presentation that is honestly pretty biting and a little visceral on this track, but the chord progression is so optimistic sounding that it just creates this tension that is addictive, and it just gets stuck in your head, and I just want more.
At number 17, we have a track from the new Deftones album, Gore. This song is called LMIRL.
Just get used to it, and you smile, and I sail on these waves.
Does that stand for something? Probably. I don't know if we're supposed to know or not. Maybe I'm just ignorant. Maybe it's in the song's lyrics and I just haven't looked closely enough. I don't know. I'm going to call myself out for that. But this song it's a little bit of a longer track, but man, this just encapsulates everything that Deftones are about as a band. And especially coming from Gore, which is an album that Jake, you and I mentioned we weren't keen on the production. It's kind of washy, it's kind of murky, and it really actually takes away from some of the hard-hitting moments. Where I think that works on this track in particular is that this is a moodier track. It takes a while to build up, and it takes a while before you get to that first pre-chorus and chorus, which is the key moment of the song, from when things go from being a little bit, maybe dark to really kind of triumphant and glorious. Then you've got a really hard-hitting, kind of screamy Deftones bridge, and then an even bigger version of the chorus. It's just a really, really greatly constructed song, one that I kept coming back to.
Number 16 on our top songs of 2016 list, we have Phantogram's Same Old Blues, the second track off the album 3.
I keep on having this dream where I'm stuck in a hole and I can't get out. There's always something that's pulling me down, down, down.
This song, when you put it on, it immediately starts off by just this driving, up-tempo beat. That kind of, and you get the introduction of the production style that they're going for, which kind of has this like throwback hip hop vibe.
Yeah, kind of a gospel sample in there too.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Sarah's vocals come in and they start playing off of the beat. And then eventually the song kind of sprawls out a bit, and then you get to the chorus, and they do the classic Phantogram drop chorus, and you just have some keys and Sarah's vocals for the first round. But then by the end of the song, the chorus is huge sounding, so they do build it every time you hear the chorus. It's just a very well executed song with a lot of great hooks, and I'd say that in general, if I were to classify this is pop music, but it has such a driving force and energy to it. It's a very unique sound. I really don't hear a lot of stuff out there that sounds like this. So it's original enough for me to really get behind, and it's poppy enough for I think everyone to get something out of it and really find it very catchy. Following Same Old Blues by Phantogram, we have number 15 on our list, Golden Chords by Deacon, off his solo record Sleep Cycle.
And so you're waking to face the change in your role. And with each restless shiver you retch from the soul.
Deacon is a member of Animal Collective. Sleep Cycle is his own side album that he's done, and Golden Chords, definitely my favorite track from that record. I like this record overall, but wasn't a huge fan of it. Golden Chords as a single song, though, one of the strongest songs I heard all year. This song is 6.5 minutes long, and I would classify it, Tom, tell me if you agree with this, but it's more of like an acoustic guitar-driven ballad.
Yeah.
You have this like pulsating, glitchy electronic beat that's muffled and subtle in the mix, but it's there and kind of pushing the song forward over this arpeggiated acoustic guitar strumming that's going on. And then what you really have here is just some really nice melodies in the acoustic guitar and in Deacon's vocal presentation. It tugs at your heartstrings for about 6.5 minutes long.
Really makes the lyrics fit it as well.
Yeah, it really reminds me of Jeff Buckley at times, and just the way, like the just in Deacon's vocal presentation and the vocal parts that he performs, and also just in how he sings and conveys emotion through his voice, reminds me a lot of Jeff Buckley. And for that reason, I think it made me keep coming back to this song throughout the year.
And number 14, we have the opening track from Pinegrove's album Cardinal. This song is called Old Friends.
I knew it when I saw it. So I did just what I wanted.
Pine Grove is a young band, but they have a lot of talent. And you can tell in the vocalist's approach that he still has this kind of youthful adolescence to him. But what I love about this song is it's kind of on that cusp of, like, I feel like it's addressing those kind of early college years when you're going back and visiting your old friends and your hometown, and that maturity that takes place and some of the epiphanies that you have around that time. And musically, I think that they are capturing this kind of feeling perfectly in this track, in the lyrics, in the way that they are performed, in the nice the kind of acoustic guitar stuff, the way the vocalist's voice even breaks in spots. It's just really well done. But particularly the chorus, I just find to be really gripping. The vocals actually take a step back and are a little lower in the mix, but the chord progression there, this final chord that the chorus lands on, is just beautiful to me.
Following Pine Grove, we have the track Life Itself at number 13 on our list from Glass Animals off their album How to Be a Human Being.
Said I look fine, but I look fantastic. Come back down to my knees, gotta get back, gotta get free. Come back down to my knees, leave that to breathe. Come back down.
This is the first track on that record, and it really opens the album in such a wonderful fashion. It starts off, and you have this almost, how would you describe this beat, Tom? It's like almost
huge rhythms. I mean,
huge rhythms.
To replicate this live without the use of loop pedals or electronics would take a lot of people. Let's just put it that way.
It would take a lot of people, a lot of like strange style like timpanis and drums and things like that. Anyways,
I love the rhythmic approach. I wish more bands were doing stuff like this.
It has this extended intro. I feel like, and with each like 4-bar loop that they do, they add a new instrument in every time, and this little synth part comes in and just builds it up before cutting back down to a more simple. The vocalist kind of does like a softer spoken verse before just this explosive chorus that you'll never get out of your head. Even if you tried, you can't get this track out of your head.
The thing I love about this track is it had to be the opening track.
It absolutely
I
had
love
to be.
hearing songs like this that it's like, this couldn't have fit anywhere else on the album. It's not just an arbitrary choice for track 1. It had to be the opening. And number 12, we have Untitled 6 from, of course, Kendrick Lamar's Untitled Unmastered.
Gemini duality, personalities always conflicted. Oh, but don't be scared of me, girl. I can't explain. I know it's foreign to you. I know it's hard to believe. God, give me the favor. I can't explain more than a couple of
The thing that I love about this song is it's got that perfect balance of just that smooth, jazzy performance in the verse with Kendrick's more laid-back rapping, and then a really on-beat, driving chorus with this other vocalist that's more of a crooner, kind of higher pitched, a little nasally even, but it just works so well. And I love the moment in the verse leading into the pre-chorus and chorus where the drum beat switches to this kind of offbeat accented snare rim click to this just fully on-beat driving thing. All of those percussive accents line up with the vocals perfectly, and it just creates this song that is as easy to listen to as it is fun. I just love this one.
Number 11 on VIM's top tracks of 2016, we have Destroyed by Hippie Powers from Car Seat Headrest on their album Teens of Denial. This has to be my favorite indie song of 2016, just from the standpoint that these guys are a true indie rock band. Mm-hmm. And kind of in the way that like Pavement was back in the 90s, you know, with Crooked Rain. Like there's so much time, you know, we were just listening to this track before we hit record here, and you made the comment that there are so many like hidden subtleties in the layerings and the guitars and the vocals, and I totally hear that. Both just the like just distorted guitar crunches of the main rhythm guitar, but then in behind you hear this like noodling going on in the lead that's kind of more down in the mix, and then in the chorus you have the multiple vocal layers. Never sounds too pretty, but adds just enough oomph that you can really get the chorus come across. This is just a very endearing, warm sounding indie rock presentation.
Yeah, I love it when vocalists like this, who have nowhere close to a pretty voice, still bother to do harmonies that thicken things up. This is something that Modest Mouse does all the time, and Car Seat Headrest does that really well. And I just love that the entire chorus to this song is just the line, Tell my mother I'm coming home, I've been destroyed by hippie powers. Just that line repeated, and it gets stuck in my head. It was stuck in my head for weeks. I couldn't stop rocking out to this song. At number 10, such a worthy track to kick off our top 10 tracks of 2016, Kate Tempest with Europe is Lost.
Hostile, worried, lonely, we move in our packs and these are the rights we were born to. Working and working so we can be all that we want and dancing the drudgery of. But even the drugs have got boring. But sex is still good when you get it. To sleep, to dream, to keep the dream in reach.
Holy crap. This is a hip hop song, first off. And Kate Tempest is as much a poet as she is a hip hop artist. The beat is very stark, it's very minimalistic, but it sets up her vocals extremely well. Jake, you mentioned kind of reminds you of Tricky. You had also mentioned when we talked about this in our wrap up, maybe a little bit of Gorillaz in there. I think that characterizes the beat pretty well. But man, her lyrics are biting. She is absolutely spitting fire. And let me just get up on a soapbox and say that for everyone out there who gives me crap for not being tolerant of a lot of the new hip hop that's coming out these days. Artists that a lot of people get into that I don't get into quite as much, like Chance the Rapper and YG and Earl Sweatshirt and Schoolboy Q. The reason I don't get into those artists as much is because there are people like Kate Tempest making music like this that reminds me of how powerful hip-hop can be if you just effing try. And I feel like when I listen to Europe is Lost, this is such a hard-hitting, powerful song. It just makes me realize that so many hip-hop artists are not trying. I'm still loving Kendrick Lamar. I'm still loving A Tribe Called Quest. They put a lot of meaning into their art. Kanye does sometimes as well. But man, Kate Tempest, I think, just hit it out of the park with easily one of the best hip-hop songs of the year.
Coming in at number 9 on our top tracks of 2016 list, we have a somber one with I Need You from Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds off his record Skeleton Tree.
Stealing me, baby, I need you. In my heart, I need.
As we said in our albums podcast, in our last podcast, we loved Skeleton Tree as an album. It's Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. It's kind of his tribute to Nick Cave's son who passed away. And I Need You is the longest track on that record. It's track 6, and it kind of, to me, kind of serves as the climactic thesis statement of the record. It starts off, you have this just like atmospheric opening with just like these shimmering sounds, and then just this devastating kind of just gritty 80s sounding synth comes in, and there's this minor chord progression that I can't get off the word devastating. Like then Nick Cave's vocals come in, and he just sounds so completely hurt and destroyed that it's hard to not like feel exactly what he's feeling. I mean, it's not possible to feel exactly what he's feeling without going through losing a child, but for him to pass any of that on to us as the listeners is incredibly powerful. And the way that he does that through his vocals in the production in this song is absolutely masterful. And there's all these just little subtle elements that he introduces that just quietly increase the intensity of the song as it goes on through its almost 6 minutes playtime. And by the last chorus, you have just these vocal layers that are just cascading upon you, and it's just a powerful statement.
At number 8, we have the opening track from Radiohead's new album, Burn the Witch.
Sing a song on the jukebox that
This track, of course, is marked with string arrangements. That orchestral arrangement is the trademark of the song, conducted and arranged by Johnny Greenwood and performed by a live orchestra. And I love those staccato strings. They make such a statement right away. You have this weird kind of electronic beat that comes in. But once again, to me, this song, as much as it's about the strings, Tom York's vocal performance is just terrific, especially when we get to the chorus where he sings, the title of the song, Burn the Witch, We Know Where You Live. And it's just this huge, roomy reverb that just saturates the entire mix. Just a great Radiohead song in general. And even if it wasn't Radiohead, just definitely a very, very strong statement of 2016.
Number 7 on our top songs of 2016 list is Atlas Rise.
Yeah.
By Metallica off their new album, which came out in November, Hardwired to Self-Destruct.
All you bear, all you carry, all you bear, place it right on me.
So if Metallica, if their famous track, Master of Puppets, had a baby with track 3 from 2008's Death Magnetic, Broken, Beaten, Scarred, it would be Atlas Rise. It is a 6.5-minute behemoth, and it's my favorite track from Hardwired to Self-Destruct. This song starts off with just some of the most powerful guitar chords I've ever heard, just grinding it out before going into a very Master of Puppets like verse. But the key thing, and one of just the musical themes that we heard on Hardwired to Self-Destruct, was just the focus on combining traditional Metallica verses with the poppier choruses that really got them into their megastar rock band status in the 90s and 2000s. So here they are with just this monument of a track that has an extended solo in some of the best guitar harmonies that I've ever heard. This song is masterfully written, masterfully performed, and masterfully produced. Some of Hetfield's best vocal performances I hear in Atlas Rise, and I can't stop gushing about this song.
One thing I love about it too is the drums. I think Lars does a terrific job of complementing the guitars rhythmically, which is something he's always done, but in particular, you listen to the chorus of this song, and he's not just holding the beat down while the guitars do whatever they're doing on top of it. He's sticking right with the rhythm of the guitars, and it makes for a really unique chorus experience for a Metallica song. Number 6, we have the song Steady Waves from Cross Records' album Wabi Sabi. This was the highlight of Cross Records' new album for us, Jake.
Yeah, I won a week of Music League with this song.
You did, and it's a great pick. This song, it just has so much going for it. There's so many details to pay attention to in the mix, but it starts really subtly with just this softly strummed guitar and Emily Cross's vocals, which throughout the song, she's like a siren. There's an element to it that's seductive, but it's also sinister at the same time. Mm-hmm. And then they bust in with this electric guitar line that is just killer, and then it just cuts out. Mm-hmm. Right as soon as you start to get used to it, comes in with this nice kick drum. Later in, the electric guitar comes back, and there's kind of a climactic build near the end with some more wailing vocals. But this song really just has it all.
Coming in at number 5, we have No Dreaming by Wye Oak off their album Tween. No Dreaming was of a shorter Wye Oak record, had 9 songs or so on it, a little 34 minutes. It's not a lot of songs to choose from, honestly, and they had a number of songs on this record that I think both Tom and I really, really liked. No Dreaming was the clear highlight of the highlights on that album, which is an album of just well-crafted songs. No Dreaming is this kind of swirling, sort of dreamy pop anthem is what I would call it. It starts off kind of so soft with these like pulsating guitars that are kind of the signature Wye Oak guitar sound now. has that shoegaze element to it in the chorus where it's just this wall of sound as this thing takes a couple minutes to actually unfold, kind of like a flower opening into this just explosive chorus that has some real high points and some cathartic vocal presentation. This song is really something special because it shows off all of Wye Oak's best qualities. It shows how they can control dynamics in such a way that creates such a stark contrast between different sections of the song. It also shows how good they are at presenting vocals in a way that actually create this emotional contrast that assists the dynamic contrast to go along with it. Just a well-executed and well-written song.
At number 4 on our list, we have DJ Shadow featuring Run the Jewels. The song's called Nobody Speak.
Yeah, correct. I will walk into a court while they wreck, screaming, yes, I am guilty, motherfuckers, I am death. Hey, you wanna hear a good joke? Nobody speak, nobody get choked.
This is our top hip-hop song of the year, Jake.
It absolutely
and
is.
it's a deserving one. I think that with DJ Shadow's production style, that beat where you have that kind of descending scale that plays 3 times through, very, very memorable line. And then, of course, Run the Jewels comes in. LP and Killer Mike are just about perfect. I mean, they kill it. These guys are pros. This is just I don't know. I don't have much more to say about this one, man.
The thing that I love about it is just that bass line that you hear just driving the song forward. It has such a thump to it. But then they add in all of these little electronic melody flourishes here and there that really just give this thing a complexity and space to it that really complements the almost earthy, visceral presentation and lyrical delivery that specifically Killer Mike has, but LP also emulates. Tom.
Yeah.
We've made it to the top 3. I'm really excited.
All right.
I'm really excited for this next one. This next one was a bit of a surprise for me personally. The track is I Will Not Sleep Here by Merchandise off their album A Corpse Wired for Sound.
I'm sick of thinking about nightmares. In all mysteries asleep, separate visions of a bearded man with bleeding eyes.
This song was a surprise to me because it showed up as number 2.
Yeah, it was my number 2 of the year.
Number 2 on your list, Tom. And I had heard this song maybe one time before and hadn't really noticed its brilliance. And honestly, that was on Christmas Eve.
Yeah,
And
just like a week ago.
And I listened to that song in preparation for this podcast, just wanting to make sure that like any of Tom's songs that he had picked that I had listened to thoroughly. And I fell in love with this track, and I have not stopped listening to it. I've just played it on repeat. It is a wonderful builder. It's track 8 of 9 on A Corpse Wired for Sound. It's the obviously second to last track. It's almost 7 minutes long. It is the longest song on the record and plays a very important role on the record. But the great thing about this track is it works so well on its own. It's like a modern day 80s infused Stairway to Heaven in the way that this thing builds, which with each successive part adding in this new instrumental pieces on top of what was made before it, and the chorus is simply heart-wrenching and endearing.
And number 2, we have number 2 on Radiohead's new album, A Moon-Shaped Pool. The song is called Daydreaming. This is the second song they released also from the album before the album actually came out. And while Jake, you and I were a little lukewarm on Burn the Witch when it first came out, before the album was released, we both loved Daydreaming pretty much immediately.
From the moment I heard this song, I have just thought it was a masterpiece.
It's like the longest song they've ever done, right?
That's true. By 1 second.
By 1 to Paranoid Android, right? And what's funny is, you compare it to a long track like Paranoid Android, which has so many sections, and this song is not so. It's more about repeating a theme, but bringing these different elements in and out of the mix. You have this twinkling piano, but it's very somber, and the piano is produced to sound kind of sad, really.
Yeah.
It's muddled a little bit. There's a lot of reverb. Tom York's vocals, once again, and as I've said about the other Moonshaped Pool tracks, Tom York's vocals are a highlight. His vocal melody, his performance is spot on. At the end, it kind of digresses into this chaotic whirlwind of backwards, pitch-shifted vocals, and just this overall messiness that to me connotes just a loss and grief to a degree.
What song could possibly follow Daydreaming by Radiohead as our favorite song of the year, Tom? And furthermore, is it possible for us to ever agree on a best track of the year?
I never used to think so.
I didn't, but we've proved ourselves wrong. Tom and I actually agree that the song Whatever Lets You Cope by Black Foxes off of their album I'm Not Well is our favorite top track of 2016. So Tom, what is it about Whatever Lets You Cope that makes it so special? This album, I don't think it didn't make it very high on either of our lists. And while it's a decent record, this song is the clear highlight on it.
This song is incredible, and it's kind of an obscure pick for our agreed number one song of the year. But what sticks out to me is two factors. First off, the sheer songwriting and song structure of this, the way that the instrumentalists work together. Because I should say, first off, this is a pretty hard rock kind of emo track.
Right.
And within that style, you hear a lot of the same instrumental approaches from band to band. These guys, they're doing things very gritty, but what I like that they're doing here is they're bringing instruments in and out a lot. They're breaking things down a little more. It's not just the same level of intensity throughout. But with the song structure, there's kind of a chorus line, but each time it comes up, the instrumentation backing it and the style they're playing is a little bit different. It starts kind of soft and it really just hits this huge peak. So the song structure is the first thing that makes a song great. But second, the vocal performance.
The vocal performance.
This is one of just the best rock vocal performances I have heard all year.
Yep.
The singer is screeching. The singer is yelling, wailing. It's got this huge vibrato in his voice.
Yeah, there's one point where you actually feel his vocals, like as he's belting it out, they start like vibrating and waning. And it's like, I could see how that could come off as like a negative thing, but to me that just adds so much authenticity to the sound and it magnifies his performance. My favorite aspect of this song is how, like, right in the middle of the song, you think the song's going one way, and then it just totally takes a turn to the left and does this kind of like up-tempo breakdown, where the guitar kind of starts over in this more moving part, but then it just kind of breaks down. The drummer does a great job controlling the pace of this song, and it busts into this huge second chorus where the lead vocalist, belts out, don't waste your time. And then he goes up into his upper register to do the second part of that. And just thinking about that gives me the chills. And then the song does a quick outro. The beauty of that is that they don't overdo it. This is not a long song. It's 3 minutes and 56 seconds long, and it has multiple segments to it in that time. That shows a lot of craft and willingness to just hit the high points very briefly and let those linger in the listener's mind. And boy, does it ever linger in your mind after you hear this song. Every single time I listen to this song, and admittedly it was in my running mix, every single time I listened to this song, it ended up stuck in my head for the rest of the day. And that is the mark of a great song. And the fact is that as we listened to more songs throughout the year, this song just kept coming back. Kept coming back. I never wanted to not listen to this song. So it kind of makes sense how it ended up on both of our lists. That wraps it up, Tom.
Yeah.
Those were our 30 top songs from 2016. And man, that was a really good list. I feel like
Yeah.
I feel really good about our top songs list. I think that I mean, it was hard to narrow these things
really
down.
was.
And to remove several Radiohead and Moonshaped Pool tracks from that top 30 list because, understandably, we're Radiohead nuts. So.
Yeah.
That was a challenge. What were your top 5 favorite songs from 2016? Shoot us an email, give us a Facebook message, or give us a YouTube comment and let us know. We'd love to hear what songs you've been digging over the years. As I said at the beginning of this podcast, we will have a playlist on Spotify called VIM's Top Songs of 2016. It's a public playlist. Go out there, search for it, and you can see all of the songs that we just covered, our top 30 songs from 2016, but also songs that we didn't cover that were on our list just further down than number 30. Please go out there and check it out and let us know what you thought. Thank you guys for your continued support and participation. Tom and I love all of your comments on our YouTube videos, Facebook messages, and emails. Your participation is what makes Velocities in Music possible, so as always, thank you for being awesome. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
We are Velocities in Music, moving music discussion forward.